Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Welcome to Game Over Montreal. That I don't even want to call that a game. That was terrible. I see there's new people in the chat. Musicality. For a second, it was spelled weird. I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to pronounce that. But it's Musicality. I got it. Says they're a newbie here. This is the game you decided to join for? I mean, I guess if you want to talk about this game, if you want to yell about it, this is obviously a free space to come to, and we will obviously welcome you. Thank you for joining, but this isn't a game that I thought many people would watch to the end. So anybody who stays, trust me, with Alice Moran here, this stream will be more entertaining than the game. I know it's a low bar to clear, but Alice will get us there. I took notes for this game. Do you want to know how many? 2. So there's not much to talk about for the game. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're just going to go with the flow and see how it happens. Before we get into it, let's talk about Sports Interaction. It's March Mania at Sports Interaction. I guess it's not really anymore. It's April 1st, but hey, April Fools. NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, and so much more. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario by using the QR code that you see at the bottom of the screen right now, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. All right, let's welcome in Alice. How are you? Long-suffering Oilers fan. I think you're suffering a lot less than every Canadiens fan right now.
That's why I feel like I'm the right person to have. I understand this specific point in a ref season where you're just like, why am I watching these games? And I've lived this. This was a decade of my life, more than a decade, because then they got to playoffs and then they sucked again. So dreams come true.
Yeah, I would say that this game is very apropos for today because I mentioned this on Twitter earlier, but I know you deleted Twitter, so I'll repeat it here. And for
Please,
anybody who didn't catch it.
I don't know. What are you and I assume all of the alt-right people who are still on Twitter saying?
Oh, well, speaking of the alt-right, Jordan Peterson fell for a very obvious April Fool's joke from the Western Standard, of all places, that apparently Trudeau was going to turn one of the lanes on the Trans-Canada Highway into a bike lane. And he's furious about it, Alice. He's furious.
I mean, I'm not surprised that Jordan Peterson has bad opinions about something with the word trans in it. Just seems a bit on the nose, Jordan. Play a new record.
There was, what's his name? Rob Russo, I think, had a great tweet. He had like the image of Peterson crying, being like, no wonder these kids can't trust anybody. They have a day, and they even call you a fool if you fall for it. It's like, so good.
The thing about April Fool's Day at this point is I just feel like reality is so fucked up that I'm like, none of this seems out of the realm of possibility anymore. It also just seems like, hey, we tell you, like a lot of them just seem to give you hope for a second, and then you remember that it's April Fool's and life's a nightmare. Like a few years ago when that article circulated being like, they're going to rename the Rogers Center back to the Sky Dome, and I was happy for a moment, and then I was like, oh no, what day is it?
I find those are the ones that are cruel. The ones that have something fun, like do something bad that people get like anxious a bit for a second, but it has to be a level of obvious, like, or make your April Fool's pranks personal. Like I have a friend who I know more through my wife. They like went to school together in university, and every April Fool's for like 5 or 6 years, she would get me. She would call and she would have like ambient noises playing like the background of an office, and she would pretend to be like Quebec's healthcare system and being like, well, we have no record of you living in Quebec, so we're taking away your healthcare, and like you refuse to be served in French, so this is what's gonna happen. And it was like, getting me to the point of like I'm actually getting pissed off. You'd be like, hey, it's Amanda.
No, that's what you gotta good. Do. That's a good April Fool's prank.
100%.
Yeah. Or my favorite of all time was when Google Maps legitimately was like, hey, we put Pokemon in Google Maps, and you're like, ha ha ha. But then you went to Google Maps and there were Pokemon all over the world. And if you found all 151, they sent you business cards that said Pokemon Master, and I have one now.
An ultimate flex. Was that before Pokemon Go?
That was before Pokemon Go. So everyone was really bummed afterwards because like, man, imagine there were just Pokemon in the world. And then like a year later, they're like, guess what?
I wonder if Google knew.
I think they did. I feel like isn't Niantic a I could be wrong. I feel like they must have known.
They
Yeah,
had
I
to
feel like
have.
they're a branch. I don't know. I don't know enough about this. Is the sort of thing where I can tell that like my little brother will say this tomorrow and scream because he works in video game development. He's like, "You're an idiot. You don't know things." And I let a lot of people down, just like the Habs did tonight. What a segue!
Oh my goodness. I will you know what I will say though about the Montreal Canadiens tonight is like everyone knew looking at the lineup this was going to be an ugly one against the Carolina Hurricanes, who are one of the league's best teams. But man, Carolina didn't bring much for entertainment either. Like
Yeah,
without
it was boring.
it was very boring. Like
It
without
was
Svechnikov, without Pacioretty, their scoring is just not quite there, and it's just like every single player on that whole team except for like Aho plays the exact same way, which is like forecheck really hard, really good defensively, and like sometimes they stumble into a goal. And like
yeah,
that works, I guess, but it
yeah.
sucks
And
to watch.
Pugliarvi had a decent chance, and I kind of was hoping at least to see him score. I'm not salty. I love to see my exes doing well. So, but
Yeah, Habs fans on the other hand,
I
very
really want Jesse
salty.
Pugliarvi to be okay somewhere, like be the player we all know he should be.
Yeah, I honestly I feel so bad for him because we all know he needed a fresh start. I feel like the Hurricanes might be the worst place for him because I was talking to Mark Dumont, who's the co-host of this show during the game, and he was saying like Puljujärvi to the Hurricanes is a bad fit. And I was like, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad fit because he plays the same way as all the other Hurricanes do,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a good fit in terms of getting him to break out in any way. Like he needs to play with some players who can bring some offense out of him, set him up for some shots, try to get that
Yeah.
goal scoring going that he
I
had
also
like
just feel like
last
a
year.
lot of his problems seem like they're like confidence issues or
Yeah.
I think just not quite clicking. Like I feel like what he needs is a movie makeover where he realizes he was hot all along.
Like a clone high makeover is what he needs.
Yeah, like a she's all that. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where we're at with Bully RV. He just needs a moment of realizing he's the shit, and then he'll be great. But like right now, it just seems like a mental thing of being like, why are you doing this? Please stop. As someone who truly, I love Jesse Bully RV, but I had to watch and be like, why? Why are you do this? Why you do this? Please, Jesse. Jesse,
What
no.
what's the
And he
male
would do
equivalent?
sweet things like go and find a bison and refer to it as like he said I met a kind bison. How do you not love that player?
He is great. What's like the male equivalent of the dumb rom com thing of where like the girl takes off her glasses and all of a sudden she's a 10 out of 10.
I I feel like the closest thing we have as a trope is a guy takes off his shirt and reveals that he's ripped. Like he'd be like, I'm a nerd, you don't know anything about me. Oh, your car needs to be fixed?
Yeah, and he takes off the flannel. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who auditions unsuccessfully all the time for romantic, like Hallmark movies, the tropes. I struggle. I can't convincingly say any of that dialogue. It doesn't
No?
sound real. I had one that it took me, I shit you not, 40 takes to get a clean one because I could not say the lines without laughing. Because one of the lines was, but that means we're going to lose the orphanage on Christmas.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
uh,
Lose the orphanage on Christmas. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
tough one. That's a tough
that's
one to
tough.
get through.
We're gonna, you know what? We all struggle.
I feel like that could just be like one of your improv nights is like everybody has to nail a Hallmark special, like the worst line from a Hallmark special.
I sometimes every time my dad really loves them, so whenever I go to his place for Christmas, they're on, and I'm always as a writer, I'm just like I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand who these are for. I understand that people like them, but I'm like, why? And their answer seems to be because they're the same. They're like comforting, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I kind of get it, but I'm also like, couldn't you just watch a good movie like again?
Yeah, I don't get it. I know that when I go home for Christmas, my parents play them on low volume pretty much the entire time. They've always got like Life Network or whatever on while like making Christmas dinner. Nobody's watching it, but it's
There
on the
was one a
TV.
few years ago that I was watching where there was like a non sequitur, and I was like, I think the writer of this might have been really funny and got to sneak a good joke by. But essentially, it was something like she ended up, she's like, I guess I'll throw out the article I'm going to write about this town's magical Christmas festival. But then she later referenced what the article she was supposed to write is that she had come to the town to interview a man who invented his own sport, and she kept saying, like, dropping little iterations about what that sport was. I'm like, I really need to know about this man that's being referenced. This man inventing a wild sport. Also,
He
that
wasn't
this
part of the
woman was
movie?
covering sports ever and just decided, like, you know what? My editor will be so much happier with something about Christmas. Could you imagine she writes for The Athletic and she turns in something about Christmas in a small town in New Hampshire?
Clearly, they know nothing about the travel budgets of sports media. I will say that. Like, they don't know
Yeah.
anything about that because they're
Yeah,
tiny.
but I love how Christmas movies really believe that journalists get so much money and time to write fluff pieces, let alone
They're from the
any
big city. They must be rich.
the woman has like a spotlight level budget to write something about, like, is Christmas dying? Like a really nonsense piece.
I love it. I love it. I was before I got distracted by Jordan Peterson, I was going to tell you about how apropos this game was because it was so awful, and I had an awful moment of my own today. I went to one of my oldest son's friends had their birthday today, and they went to a trampoline park, and we all went. Super fun. Kid, like, Dylan's hair is down to his shoulders again now, and it was like the entire head was drenched in sweat, like all of his hair, like totally worked himself up into a lather. But at one point, my youngest son was trying to get to Dylan, and there was like these platforms that were like foam, and on either side was those like ball pits, but they're square foam blocks.
Okay.
And like every 6 feet or so, there was like a pillar that was wrapped in some sort of protective foam covered in plastic or whatever. And so I had to like swing Miles around because he couldn't reach his own way onto the next thing of foam. And then I would swing around myself and grab him, make sure he didn't hurt himself. And the last one closest to the wall was loose. So there was another kid on there who's kind of like jumping up and down, and it was moving like this. And just as I swung Miles around to go the other way, the kid jumped and it went down on my side and I fell into the ball pit. Now, I don't know, Alice, if you've ever gone into one of those square foam block pits as an adult, but it's very different than when a kid falls in it. And I
haven't.
Oh, especially when you're not in good shape. I was about this close to being so, like, the ultimate embarrassing move of calling for help. This close. And then I finally found a way out of there. I got from on my back to standing up, and then I, like, sunk up to, like, above my belly button. I was like, never getting out of here. They're going to have to pull in, like, some sort of machine or something. I was too far away, and then I just, like, found a way to, like, grit and determination get myself up there and, like, got a knee up on
So you're saying your traumatic ball pit experience.
That's the Canadiens. Yes, that's the Canadiens tonight. That's how bad they played.
Yeah, you know what? It feels like you've had an across the board bad day.
Well, it was. Other than that, it was fun.
Nobody in the world is more sympathetic to the Habs, I feel like, than the Oilers fans, because, like, look, we know the pain of being in the Stanley Cup final and then going from that to immediately dog shit. That is a hard pivot that I understand and I am very sympathetic for. And unfortunately, my best advice for how to get out of it doesn't apply anymore, because my advice would be to be so bad that you break the draft. That worked for us, but I don't think that's going to happen twice.
Well, you never know. Maybe the Canadiens get some Oilers magic and they get their Connor McDavid this year. Maybe they get out of it quicker.
I mean, I really hope that you guys get like a bunch of first round draft picks and then they have to rebalance the draft again. Like, somehow it just works out that you guys like take our throne of getting all of the draft picks and be like, yeah, we have a bunch of teens, and when they grow up, this team's going to be good.
Yeah, someone in the comments mentions quicksand. Yeah, I feel like those ball pits are like if you had quicksand like paranoia as a kid, which I feel like is a very 90s kid thing. I don't know
Yes, I
why.
definitely thought quicksand would be something that I would encounter at some point in my life.
Right? Same. And I didn't have like a phobia of it, but I know people who did who were like deathly afraid of the idea of like quicksand showing up in the sandbox at the park or whatever. You don't see very many. No, you do. Never mind. There's some
Imagine if
sandboxes
somebody
at
just
parks.
put a bunch of quicksand in all of the kids' playgrounds. That's chaotic.
That would be so evil, but also kind of funny. But
It
yeah,
would
and
be
then you
like,
see
yeah.
like actual quicksand is not actually that dangerous unless you like struggle around in it a bunch. But yeah, I feel like this is actually worse than quicksand, the foam block thing. 'Cause it all compresses underneath you and it's built to hold the weight of a toddler. Not fun for adults.
I mean, it's fun to. The visual for me is very fun
Oh yeah,
with that.
because it's you just like you're hopeless, right? Like you fall in there and it's just like you're beached like a whale. Like it's just terrible.
I mean, this is the fun thing about being an adult is you slowly your body starts to betray you and do things that you're like, what? We used to have no problem with this. How come the most dangerous activity I do is somehow sleeping? I'll wake up and my back is like, that was hard. Fucked up now.
Yep, the over 30 back.
I feel
It's
like
great.
it was like literally my 30th birthday is the first time I ever woke up with massive back pain.
Oh,
So
God.
that's fun.
Yeah,
One
I would
treat.
say mine was earlier than that, but it was my oldest cousin when I was like, let's see, like 10, gave me a backbreaker. And I should admit, like, hey, a wrestling move. Tonight is WrestleMania, so for any wrestling
Oh,
fans who are
fun.
staying up late, we've actually got Game Over Pro Wrestling debuting tonight for WrestleMania. So tonight and tomorrow
Ooh.
night, hosted by Fawad from Game Over Toronto. So check that
Sick.
out tonight.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
but yeah, he gave me a backbreaker, and my back's been kind of like off and on crappy my entire life since. Because a 14-year-old was like, "I'm gonna get my cousin," and just smash me on his knee.
I mean, that is not a safe stunt. That it wasn't a safe stunt to someone who spent a lot of time having to learn how to do safe stunts last year. Although one of the things I had to do on camera, they're like, "Hey, there's no way around this. You're just gonna have to punch this guy in the stomach." And he was like, "Don't worry, I won't even feel it." And I every like take after take, I would not be like I would like go in and I would just like mime it. Like I wouldn't actually hit him. He's like, "You can actually hit me. I don't. It's fine." And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but there's something in my brain overriding my ability to punch you, and I kind of don't want to get rid of that part of my brain that goes, "Don't hit people." Like I don't. Let's keep that in place.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. I find like I've been doing boxing once or twice a week since September, and
Ooh.
the guy that I train with, like we started like doing faux sparring, right? Because he's like very, very technical. You're not just going in there to fight people. You're like, you're gonna master this technique first. And still, like with him, I know that I can't actually hit the guy. Like he could have been a pro boxer if he wanted to. But still, I'm like, soft jab, and he's like, no, like mean it. I'm like, it's
Yeah,
weird.
all my boxing I do on the bob. So like I'll haul off on a bob, but I don't know if I think it came down to it. I'm like, would I be able to punch someone in the face? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if there were a threat to you, for sure, but
Yeah,
like
actually,
not someone you
one time a guy
like.
jumped me on the alley and I did hit him in the face. That was my reaction of just being like, ugh.
That's right. You had that great story. You told that on the show before.
Did I? Yeah,
I
a guy
think
jumped me in
so.
the alley and I just like,
Yeah, because
that's
I
the
remember
best thing
everyone
you
being
do.
like, "Yeah, Alice, funny and kick ass."
I mean, it didn't feel kick ass. I definitely cried a lot after.
That's the reality of a real fight, right? Like when you're fighting for your life, like you get the adrenaline, and then afterward, it's just this huge drop, and you're like, "Ugh."
I would love nothing more than if, like, in an NHL game, two players got into a fight, and then one of them immediately after was me and cried about it. Was like, I don't like doing that. It doesn't feel good.
I feel like George the Rock wouldn't cry in the penalty box, but the way he talked about fighting, he did feel like that. Like
Yeah, he didn't love it, but like, imagine just watching Milan Lucic cry after a fight. How
I would
satisfying
like
it
him.
would be.
I would like him so much more.
You're at a zero. There's really nothing he can do to go lower in your estimation.
True.
So
But I would like respect it, you know, to like put your emotions on your sleeve like that and just be like, it's not fun for me anymore.
Yeah, that player would absolutely like break a barrier, being like first guy to cry openly, proudly.
Oh my god. So many barriers being broken in the NHL these days. Uh,
Honestly, I feel like we're more likely to have like a player cry than an openly out player. Like I feel like we'll probably get tears
Probably.
before we get
I mean,
bleak.
I guess we're not counting like Messier, right? Because that's not like a reaction to a thing. That's like the whole.
Yeah, we don't get. Yeah, we want like yeah, Smitty cried. I remember Smitty crying. I mean, I guess I've never seen like a player be like, and I'm crying and I don't care. Like I'm
Yeah.
not ashamed. Like I feel like all of them are like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this. But like a player just be uh like messy girl, like drunk, being like, I'm crying and I want you to see it. That's what I want to see from a player. I want someone to break that barrier.
Yeah. Rock Smasha says Eric Engels asked Martin St. Louis what the Canadiens could take out of this game. He said Montembeau. So I guess he's saying they owe their goalie some drinks. Poor guy. 50 shots.
Yeah, yeah. That it wasn't that. This is like the problem when you start to lose like consistently when you're at like a bottoming out team. It also like the mental game just starts to play into everybody. Where like people are showing up, coming less hard for each other, and then you as a goalie start to feel bad. But it's also like your defense wasn't there for you, bro. This isn't on you.
Yeah. I think everyone knows that. And they're just the chat's just making sure everybody knows that he wasn't calling out Montembeau. I think that reads pretty obvious. He meant like they owe him some food and some drinks after this one. Man, he's got to get some calories back in him after how much he probably sweat out in that game. But yeah, there was another comment in here. John Lay says that we did pile drivers on each other when we were kids. That's the thing. I find anytime you always see those like life expectancy charts, and it's like men are always lower than women, and people assume that's like men die earlier in old age. I guarantee a lot of that is because we're dumb and do dumb stuff.
I
Like,
mean,
just watch videos for a while. And I remember doing a thing, Alice, when I was like 14, maybe younger than 14, where we would go on our bikes and we would grab hockey sticks and use the butt ends, and we would bike joust.
yeah,
Not
I've
on
done
grass.
I have
Like
three
on
brothers,
pavement.
so a lot of these are not unknown to me. Did you ever? We played a game called Gladiator, and Gladiator is when you take a skate and you swing it by its laces and whip it, and everyone's got to get out of the way.
No. No, we didn't do
Now,
that one.
there were four of us. One time, my dad came outside while we were playing this, and all he said was, "Hey, quit screwing around out here." And I assume it's just at that point, you know, you're so tired of as a parent at that. He was like, I got four. If I lose one, it's fine.
It's just easier.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but like I guess one of these kids are playing the dumbest, most murdery game.
I mean, at that point, it's just natural selection.
No, like I think like we were just intentionally trying to get into like we were biking around whenever we saw a funnel cloud, like me and all the kids in my block would go bike towards it because we wanted to see it turn into a tornado.
So you saw Twister and we're like, we could do that.
Yeah, and also like there are like actual like not long when I was a kid, a really deadly tornado hit Sylvan Lake when I was living in Red Deer. So it was like a real thing where we could potentially actually see a tornado, but like the idea of a bunch of 10-year-olds being like, hey, you know what'd be cool and safe? Deliberately trying to get in the path of a tornado.
I mean, when you look back at how you thought through things at that age, it does make logical sense to the logic of that age. But then you look back at it in your 30s and you're like, we were like, kids are so dumb. They're so incredibly dumb. In a good way, in a fun way.
But the only way you're going to be smart is to do a lot of dumb shit and learn from it.
Yeah, you just got to survive it. We had, when I was like 11 or 12, when I first moved from Moose Jaw to Fort McMurray, Alberta, one of the kids on our block had a trampoline. And that was like, I didn't realize that like all trampolines now come with like the netting around them.
That netting, we got that netting in high school and it saved my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's way safer, right? But we had one without the netting, and we had a wrestling league, and we like jumped and did like power bombs off the trampoline onto the grass. I don't know how we lived.
I mean, we had the cage with the net, but then it also became like immediately we're like, yeah, cage match, cage match.
That's the only reason we wanted the net was, or like the ropes around it to try to make some sort of cage match. Yeah, John
Yeah.
Lice says dumb and invincible. Yeah, kids are kind of unbreakable in a way.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't have any permanent scars from being a kid. Like I have one scar, and it's from like being an adult, being like, this looks like a weird freckle. I guess we'll cut this off. Like it's such a boring scar.
Yeah,
Wish I had something from my childhood.
I've got a few scars, but most of them are from adulthood. Like I was not a cut kid. I was a broken bones kid. I was like find a way to break a bone. That's always what I would do.
Never
Broke
broke
a
a bone. I got a bone
Really?
marrow infection though.
Whoa. How do you
Yeah,
get
it
a
was really
bone
messed
marrow
up. I
infection?
was skiing and a boot was too tight. And we were up the mountain already, and my parents were like, it'll be fine. And then we took the boot off. It was like it had like cut into my foot. And they were like,
Whoa.
put a band-aid on that. And like a month later I started limping, but everyone thought I was acting because I was at an age
Just
where I
doing
was
a
just
bit.
always doing a bit in a character. And then I started getting violently ill, at which point my mom was like, this might not be a bit.
So it was like compartment syndrome?
It was osteomyelitis. It's an infection of my bone marrow.
Jeez.
And I got to be off school for 2 weeks. Very fun. But what a treat. I watched so much Cheers. Whatever
man, back in the
12-year-old
day.
wants to do, I watched an absurd amount of Cheers and MASH.
That's like that builds character. Clearly.
Yeah, that's why I feel like that experience explains who I am as an adult of like a weird lady. That's where it comes from.
Just raised on Cheers and MASH. Speaking of injuries, the Habs announced that David Savard is done for the season with a knee injury. That's like
Bummer.
the 6th or 7th player done for the season with an injury.
You're at a point where like, yeah, no, you go with God. You're not. There's no saving the season.
No. I mean, at this point too, like done for the season means you're out a couple weeks, right? Like
Yeah.
we're less
So
than
they
2
may
weeks
as well
away.
just get a jump start on the healing, so they get a jump start on the training, so they have a better chance. Like I get it. Like damn, it is the bottom of the standings. Everyone is just out. Is a real. Oh, it makes it harder and harder to watch. Because
Yep.
it's like, oh, there's nobody here.
That's the thing. Like, you know what? I will give the Canadians credit, though. I think I said this on the last show as well. I thought when Caulfield went out for the season that it was like, that's done. The entertainment for the season is just gone. And then they brought up this Harvey Pinard kid.
Yeah.
And he's 24, so he's not really a kid, but he just brought some of that level of energy and went on this big shooting streak. And they've managed to have some good games against some contending teams tonight and the game before, not really withstanding, but I think they've just run at a racetrack now. They pushed themselves so hard through so many injuries that they've just got nothing left, and it's really starting to show.
Yeah, you gotta feel for him. I mean, when I watched the Oilers in the Decade of Darkness, I was the same age as them. But watching the Habs tonight, I'm like, oh, they're just little babies. Look at these little babies. Why is everyone being so hard on them? They're trying their best. I have a very different feeling about hockey players now that I'm in my 30s and therefore would be the oldest person on any team.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
Literally,
Carey
no,
Price's
whenever they're like,
age.
oh, this grizzled veteran and he's 27. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
That's gonna be Nick Suzuki. He's not even 24 yet, and he's already the grizzled veteran. He's
It's
the
very
Iron Man
funny when
leader.
they're like, oh, people describing like people as being like old and like past their prime and just like, yeah, it's an old man. And they're like, how old is he? And they're like, he's 35. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Oh God, I saw a good follow Paul Paduti on Twitter. He does like Hall of Fame tracking, and like he has a model that judges like how Hall of Fame worthy based on like voting criteria certain players are. And he mentioned that like Sidney Crosby's prime ended at age 27, and after that he never averaged, or he averaged I think at most 106-point season, like per 82 games adjusted for era. And he was comparing him to McDavid, and he was like, McDavid turns 27 soon. how is McDavid going to fare? And I was like, holy crap, is McDavid's prime ending? And then I was like, no, wait. He's going to have like 160 points this year. Let's all calm down. He's only
But also,
27.
like, thinking of Connor McDavid being, like, coming up on 30 is a fucking insane thought in my brain.
The fact that he's only really, made the playoffs 2 times? Not counting this year.
Three.
Was it 3? Did they go out in the first round one year?
Last year, weird playoff year, weird COVID years, and then 2 times before. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, time has become a flat circle in my brain. Since we got lockdown is just since then I have no sense of when things happened or what was what. So
yeah, it's who cares to keep track.
There hasn't been a really. I mean, last year was maybe his probably the most fun McDavid playoff. Just purely for that Calgary Flames. Like that was, I could live on that forever. And it was honestly, in a very weird personal life moment, and I was like, at least there's this.
I mean, that series was insane. That was one of the most unhinged series I think I've ever watched.
Yeah. I think it's the most stressed I've ever been watching hockey in my entire life. Because like I cannot lose a series to the Calgary Flames in the playoffs. Like I will not live this down. The thing about being in Toronto, it means that I'm like so many people's like only Oilers friend. So when the Oilers lose, get eliminated, have any horrible thing happen, the text messages, the emails, it's just all getting roasted. Usually by people I work with and like guys who are like television executives. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't lose to the Flames. I can't get 100 emails dunking on me. I'm too soft.
It's just not right. It's not right. You can't do that.
It's fair. Look, I get it. I'm everybody's sweet prairie dirtbag friend. It's fine.
Well, to pump you up a little bit, we got Noel in the chat says, off topic, Alice has amazing hair, and Kay says, yes, amazing hair.
I will be fully honest, I didn't feel like doing my hair, which is why I bought a wig. This is a thing of like, every time I had to stream, I'd be like, it takes forever to curl my hair because it's so fine. So I just got a wig that looks like if I did my hair right. So there you go.
There you go. That's the trick. That's the trick, guys. Oh my God.
Every celebrity on the red carpet, that's a wig.
Oh yeah. We always do like I watch like the red carpets and stuff with my wife just because like she wants to see the fashion and I'll like half-ass comment on it because I don't actually know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm like, wow, that person has like really long hair, and she just looks at me like, are you stupid? Like, no, they don't. It's a wig. They don't have hair down to their calves.
It's a wig.
No one has that patience.
Hair extensions, because like the thing is, as an actress, like my hair is like they burn the shit out of it to make it every single. You put more heat on your hair on set than you would in your regular life. So when you wrap anything, your hair is garbage. So you get a wig and you just call it a day. There
you go. That's the trick.
The tips, hot tips. If you have a lot of Zoom meetings, imagine instead of getting up early and doing your hair, you threw a wig on. What a treat.
I mean, I might need one soon anyway. It's thin and pretty good at the top.
I would love if you got a very like long flowing locks. Like I feel like this could work for you.
Just like totally change the style completely. Like different color, different hair texture.
I would just be really hyped if I jumped on a stream and you looked like you had just gotten out of medieval times. Like if I was like, oh my God, it's the black and white knight.
We'll crowdfund it for next year.
But the black and white knight is the warrior priest knight. I've been to medieval times too many times.
Why not? We should do it next year. Mark Carvalho says, how come Alice isn't watching the Oilers game right now? What if Connor hits 150 while she's here talking to Andrew? Because she's a great friend.
Because I didn't think it would be clinch miss. Honestly, I kind of thought we would passively clinch. It doesn't matter. I did the math wrong is the answer.
I mean, it is the Ducks, so most likely
we'll clinch tonight.
They're going to clinch.
I'm not pressed about it. Yeah, and the thing is, Connor's hit so many milestones this season that they're great, but it's also like, I can miss one because I've seen enough. Like I'm like, it's great.
It's also like, calm down,
every single
Connor.
One of those goals becomes a highlight reel thing that you see forever. So if you miss it, you'll catch it again.
This is true. And also, like, Connor, chill. Leave some milestones for somebody else.
Yeah, Connor, you don't have to be so great all the time. I know he doesn't. I love him.
Save
But it's
something
like
for
a
the
song.
playoffs.
Yeah. This is like you could dedicate every lyric in the Spy Who Loved Me about someone just being too good. Like I'm like, this should be what they play when Connor McDavid scores.
It should be. Eric Dangle says that he went to the game. Can we get some F's in the chat for Eric? Because I think the Canadians should refund every single person who went to this game. Honestly, like they shouldn't have like they've given more entertaining games this season than anybody could expect. But this one was so bad. I feel like they should refund.
I mean, gotta give it up to your fans because I feel like anytime anything looked like it might be good for a second, the energy came roaring back, and I was like, that's commitment because there is no hope here.
No, it was not fun, and Sean Farrell had that little skate through the middle of the ice that drew a penalty late, and it kind of looked like it might be something for a second, and that was just the story of the game for the Canadiens. There were a couple moments that looked like they might be something, and then they just were nothing. They could not, for the life of them, get anything done.
Yeah.
It was a rough one.
It was a bummer of a game. Just a stone cold bummer all the way through.
Sebastian Jackson says, Andrew, I'll give you $350 if you get a Jerry curl wig. Listen, would that be cultural appropriation though? That's my main question. And I know, Sebastian, you're you're black, so you can tell me, but at the same time, you can't speak for the whole culture, right? I'd be worried about doing something like that. I'd be a little bit worried.
I feel like you'd be a very good ginger.
Very good ginger.
You
A
could
ginger
join us
Jerry
on.
curl.
You could totally pull. Like if you were, if you're like, oh, I am naturally a ginger and I dye my hair, I'd be like, that makes sense. The tracks.
I've got ginger in the beard, so like
Yeah.
it'd fit.
Yeah, I can see it.
Sebastian says, I got your back. All right. All right. Jerry Curl wig coming up next season on Game Over Montreal. And I should say, by the way, if you want to watch this team lose another game, but have fun with people while doing it and win a bunch of prizes and get a bunch of swag, Sports Interaction's sending us a bunch of stuff to give out for door prizes for our upcoming live event, April 8th against the Toronto Maple Leafs at La Cage, right by the Bell Center. Tickets are $5 plus tax. So you can check that out. There's a link in the description of this video, or if you're listening on podcast, it's a link in the podcast description. I will throw it in the chat right now as well. You can get tickets. There are lots remaining. Oh, that does not want to take that link at all. So I will grab it from another area. But yeah, it's going to be really fun. We are hosting with Mark and myself, and also some folks from Habs Eyes on the Prize, and also the folks from Habs Fan TV. So we're going to have a great atmosphere, lots of giveaways. So all the money that's being collected to make sure that people actually will come and have tickets is being used for prizes for the event to give back to people. So make sure, like, we're not profiting on this at all. La Cage is profiting only from what you buy there. So this is all to give back to the fans. It's a cool thing that we're doing. And if you're thinking about coming, I know there's lots of people from Game Over who've already bought tickets. But as I said when I first announced the show, especially those who've been feeling like the NHL has let you down lately with the whole Pride thing, you are exceptionally welcome. And we will make sure that that space is safe for you. So definitely come check out tickets to that.
Rocks. That rocks.
Yeah, it's good to do something, right? And we're also going to do the last regular season game for all of our Game Over shows is going to be a fundraiser. We're going to do a local organization or like support group for either we haven't picked the organizations yet, so if you have any from Montreal, feel free to send them my way, and then Robert Malloy, our wonderful community manager, is going to vet them. And we're going to go through, and it'll be like LGBTQ plus support groups, whether it's like the ABC Collective that just debuted or more local organizations, that kind of stuff as well. So we're going to try to do as much as we can because, frankly, I think the NHL is kind of letting us down this season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it remains a Nothing. It's just upsetting that literally no one is out, even after they retire. And I won't tell tales out of school, but we all have heard things from reputable sources over the years. They exist. They just don't feel comfortable being out, and that's just. I can't imagine being like one of someone who's so talented at something, but it also being a curse that I can't live my life honestly. That's so sad.
It really is. Oh, geez, Sebastian Jackson in the comments says, if anybody from the LGBTQ plus community reaches out for the event on Saturday and can't afford the tickets, let him know and he'll pay for them. That is a friggin' phenomenal offer, Sebastian. And I'm going to say I will do the same thing.
That's
All right.
so sweet.
So if anybody is having a tough time, listen, it's been a tough time the last couple of years for a lot of folks, right? And we tried to make the event like relatively cheap just because we wanted to have enough to get something cool for everyone, but not enough, like not so much that it's going to be like, well, I can't order the 12 chicken wings because like I've got to scrimp and save to make my electricity bill or something. So if you're wanting to come, can't afford it, direct message me. I will find a way to get you tickets. All
That's
right.
nice.
So we'll make sure that it'll be cool. Luke Prokop might be the first person openly gay NHL player from Rock Smash. Yeah, he might if he makes the show. I think he has the advantage of coming out before being in the NHL. That's
Yeah.
like a nice thing where he's like built that support structure before he needs to come out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we see it. Oh my God, I actually think it's wild that we're this far and we haven't. It just, I don't know. I mean, I feel infinitely sad for people who don't have the opportunity or feel like they can live their life honestly and be themselves. It's so sad.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if you saw, because it was I saw it on Twitter, so I don't know how much you're ingesting of like the hockey mania that is hockey Twitter and like keeping up to date, but PK Subban made comments on the whole pride jersey thing, and unfortunate. I expected better from him. He was basically saying like you can't force people into activism, but man, like wearing a shirt's not activism. I'm sorry. Like I know it like technically might be if you go by the dictionary definition, but we all know what these jerseys are supposed to represent. It's not
if to me what it kind of keeps coming down to is whenever people are like, oh, don't, as a queer person, sometimes we're like, oh, why do you have to have a festival? Why do you guys gotta wear your flags or whatever? Because they always, it's not an active choice. It's just who I am. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's not me trying to be different. It's just like a fact of my life. It's the same as I have blue eyes. I struggle with dairy. I am attracted to women. These are all just things. They're not activism. It is no more activism to be a queer person than it is to be lactose intolerant. They are on the same level of just something you were born with.
That's the thing. Like, it's not an agenda to be like, you are also a human being who should be treated nicely.
Yeah, it's just like, I think we're in a very weird time where like people are like, you expect me to be nice to people? I won't. And the weirdest thing about it is like, you expect me to be nice to people? I won't, because Jesus says I don't have to. I'm like, that is the opposite of what that man said.
Which Jesus?
That is like, if you distilled Jesus's whole thing down, it'd be like, don't be an asshole to people.
Literally.
So that's pretty much it. Don't be rich. People love to forget that one.
Isn't like the simplest thing always like the golden rule whenever anybody talks about Jesus? Like, apply that.
There was a clip going around. I'm like, this has to be fake. I have to believe in my heart that this is fake. But it was a woman saying that she doesn't want them teaching empathy in school because empathy is a gateway to like queer acceptance. And like, I was like, this has to be a parody because it really seemed real. And I was like, I'm not even going to Google because I just truly need to believe in my heart of hearts that that is not a thing that's actually happening.
I feel like, unfortunately, it probably is. It's the same as like in the States, all that push back against like the drag story time. And they're like, this is negatively affecting kids. It's like, it's not like they're in there doing like their drag show telling dick jokes and stuff. They're just dressed in drag reading kids' books, and all it's doing is showing kids who may have feelings that are not hetero, that like, hey, if you feel like you like this kind of thing, you can be a person who is an adult who can speak to kids, and like it's totally fine.
And nobody has a problem with like really gratuitously sexual dancing cheerleaders at sporting events, but even when children are there. Also, as I feel like as a child, it would have really helped me if I could have seen somebody serving cunt. It would have just really, it would have really opened my eyes to what could be.
For sure. And like I think like the insidious thing about that is it's not even like, for those people who are pushing against it, it's not even about drag queens. It's because they know that those kids will feel safe by seeing that, by being exposed to that, right? That's what they don't want.
Honestly,
At the end of the day,
what I'm really excited about is I'm like, okay, what's like, because every time there's like a pushback, how does this manifest? I'm like, I bet we are going to get people trying to reclaim elements of drag for the straight community, and we are going to get like a lot more like lip syncing shows. Like, which I guess that's what that one lip sync show was like. Hey, what if RuPaul's Drag Race for straights? I feel like it's gonna make a real big comeback when they were like, we're gonna take back the "It's Raining Men" song for the straight community.
Oh God, I hope not.
I mean,
okay, Clump Sauce says talk hockey. Listen, if you watch that game tonight, you would know why we're not talking a lot hockey. We're talking hockey related and then going off on tangents.
Back to the game, but there's nothing to stay in the game. It was a bummer.
It was a huge bummer. So Peter Nasser, did she just say she wanted people to... Yes, she did. She did. Yeah. If you're not familiar with that term, it is a drag term. So go watch RuPaul's Drag Race. I highly recommend it. It's really entertaining. Honestly,
I think one of my favorite things that's happened is when you got into Drag Race because there was no sports on television during lockdown. That is an amazing journey for you to be like, wow, this is the closest thing to sports.
I mean, I guess it's kind of. I mean, hockey wishes it had that drama.
I mean, I feel like it probably does. If they put cameras in the locker room, we could probably get some shady confessionals.
Oh man, Draisaitl probably. He's got no filter.
Get Draisaitl in a... Seems like he could be shady. I feel like Big J would be very bored. He would be very much like oh God, Aquaria. Like, just like, yeah, sure. You're very, very good, but where's the personality?
Yeah, wildly successful, but nobody really cares what you have to say at all.
Yeah, like I think I've heard her make jokes, but you can't even really remember any quotes from Aquaria.
No, I didn't love that season.
There's so many quotes that you can pick out of Drag Race, and they are not Aquaria.
No, definitely not.
Is there a niche for like talking about hockey in terms of Drag Race? There
should be.
There'd be like 7 people who would love that podcast.
7 people, yeah, and they would really, really love it. It would be their favorite place in the whole world. Okay, so Nick Suzuki, highest game score today, says K is great for my meow meow, and Noel's asking, is meow meow a euphemism? I don't know. I saw a description of this because I had no idea what this was before, like last week. But I don't. Kay, can you explain that in the chat? Because the meow meow thing is taking off on locked account Twitter. Fine. But have you heard it, Alice? Meow meow, like referring to a player as your meow meow. I think it was like the player that you would like put on your lap and pet. Like they're your favorite, right? Like they're your cuddle bug, basically.
That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. So Suzuki is K is meow meow. Although I think she has a couple meow meows in the Montreal Canadiens.
I mean, yeah. The weirdest transition of being a female sports fan is I feel like in my 20s, I'd be like, that's my guy, I fucking love him. And then now it's turned into, that's my son. That's my son. Like, it's gone from like me being like Puck, the Puck bunny has just turned into a hard mommy over years, and I don't know exactly when it happened. But Everyone is my son.
That's just aging, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be really weird to be like hyped up about 19-year-olds, like some sort of
Yeah,
improv guru seeing
yeah, it gets
19-year-olds.
weird. I find even watching the World Juniors gets weird, where you're like super pumped about like 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds doing stuff. Like watching Connor Bedard dominate. I'm like, yeah, he's a child. It's
We
really
tried to
weird.
write a sketch once about like a fictitious like juniors tournament where instead of relegation, one team, the losingest team has to be virgins forever, and how intensely everyone would play that tournament.
That's like the next All-Star thing, the next All-Star game.
I mean, yeah, if it was like it's like if you lose, you have to be celibate for a year. Those players would play so hard. You'd see some desperate plays.
Oh my gosh. Maybe someone told that to Connor this season, and that's why he's going all out.
I love the idea of just tricking a player into thinking the NHL has that kind of power.
It's the guy who took a picture of him with the other woman. Who's like, I'll take more pictures of you with your other women if you don't break all the records this year, Connor.
Oh my god.
Too
Oh my
funny.
god. That's my son. Why? I'll talk to him. I'll straighten him out. I don't know what he's doing there. Ugh.
All right, I think we probably talked this game to death, Alice. I greatly appreciate you coming
we
on.
talked slightly about this game and then desperately tried not to, because again,
Yes.
hard bummer.
Yes, it was a terrible game. We don't need to get into the game too much. We can talk about whatever the hell we want. But before we close things out, everybody make sure that you like the stream, smash the like button for Alice, and subscribe to SDPN, and check out Game Over WrestleMania, which should be live relatively shortly, I think.
Ooh.
I don't know how long WrestleMania goes. It's been a long time since I've watched WrestleMania live. But yeah, definitely check that out. And before we close things out, Alice, where can people check out your work right now? And when is Paige Darcy coming out?
Ooh, okay. It's easiest to follow me on Instagram at Alice Moran. Like Moran is like Moran with an A. And Paige Darcy is coming out, I think, this summer. I've seen the first cut. It exists. So that's where we're at. We're at it. It is existing. It needs editing, but it's done. Yeah.
Amazing. And for those who don't know, Paige Darcy is a movie that Alice made. Not was cast in. Alice made this movie.
I didn't direct it, but I did write it and star in it. So it's a mess of me. It's not a mess. This is me. Like, I can't even say nice things about my own work. It's very good. It's good. I think it might be good.
I think it's going to be great. Alice did fight scenes, guys. She beat people up for this movie. You got to go see it. So support your local Canadian geniuses. All right. We'll see you. I guess when's the next game here? I'll just look it up quickly because this week has got me tired as hell. Tuesday against the Red Wings. Shane Malloy will be on. This time he will actually be able to be heard because the last time we had Shane on, it didn't work. So this time I'll figure it out. All right. Thanks again to Alice for joining us here today. Thanks to everyone in the comments who stuck around with us all game and all post game after that terrible game against the Carolina Hurricanes. There wasn't much to talk about, but we had a lot to talk about on this show somehow. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.